Many people talk about the ups and downs of married life, but no one really prepares you for life after your spouse passes away. Welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Tina, a safe place for widows, widowers, and their friends and family to talk about love and loss. Find comfort as you listen to honest conversations between Tina and invited guests who've experienced the loss of their forever partner. Share their stories of love, grief, and healing. You are not alone in this journey. Join today's episode and discover a wealth of resources and learn how to connect with others who are traveling the same path. This is Widowhood Real Talk with Tina.
My guest today, Shundra, has information to share that's going to blow your mind. The idea that our memories can be hidden and the desire to want to unlock them when we lean into our grief. How do different experiences in our life impact our grief? What is a grief that's complicated by more than just the passing of a loved one? Let's get into this candid conversation right now. Hello, Shundra. Welcome to the Widowhood.
Hello. Thank you.
What do you think about welcome to the widowhood when you heard that? Like, what was it, the ticker tape across your forehead that I couldn't see?
Well, the first thing that came to mind was family. Family, community. When you say that, I feel relaxed. I feel like I'm at home. So
I love that. I love that. And I'm going to share something you shared with me where when I first started this podcast and you asked me, can I listen to? I remember you asking me, is that for anybody that's dealing with loss? And I said, absolutely.
Yes.
Because it is family. And I'm glad that you picked up on that part because grief, loss is a universal experience. If we're fortunate enough to have lived a life where we had someone we love, then that was a gift. But living life in their absence is a lot of work.
Yes.
Is a lot of work.
Yes. And I'm feeling that just even to be able to talk about this, I'm feeling the emotions come on because it's like I need it. I need the release because, some things we hold bottled up in and we don't even know we're doing it because I feel tense. But yeah.
Thank you for sharing that because that tension does arise when it comes to our loved ones. But there's also something very interesting that you talked about, that release and knowing that the talking, the crying, the release is on the other side of that.
Yes.
Can you remember a time for you where you cried or addressed something and that weight was lifted? And if so, can you share that with us?
Ooh, that's hard because I haven't talked about my grief with anyone really. I've talked with people about their grief and I was very supportive with their grief. But, when you talk to somebody about their grief, I personally don't like to kind of like add my grief to theirs because I don't want to downplay what's going on with them. So I never really get a chance to talk about it really.
Wow. So
this is the first time really that I'm able to get whatever is inside of me because I don't even know what I'm going to say. So I'm like waiting for you to ask the question. And I'm afraid.
Well, no. You joined me on a live and had a bit of a conversation. So you got to share there.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
That was really good. I think when somebody else is talking, it makes me remember. And I don't know if you have if you have sporadic times where you don't remember stuff. For me, I think it's because of the trauma I've learned to suppress. So I'm having a hard time I'm just remembering my childhood, remembering times with my mom. I think because I learned to push it down.
We do learn to push it down, but it does not go away.
It don't go away, but I just keep pushing it. Now it's piled up. I feel like it's piled up now.
Okay. And so what's made you decide you're done with pushing it down?
I guess in the place of my life right now where I'm getting ready to step into a new level of my life, like another stepping stone. I recall it was one stepping stone in particular when my daughter was 16 and pregnant. And the first thing I did was pick up the phone to call my mother, only to find a man answering on the other side. And it just dawned on me that my mom is not here. So this is another uh, stepping stone. So it's like I'm thinking about her. I'm thinking about her advice. I'm thinking about what would she say about my decisions right now and where I'm going. And I'm remembering the things that she said I would do and wanted to celebrate and hear her congratulations to me. So yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. How were you when your mother passed?
How old were I?
Yes.
Oh, it's been 10 years. Actually, May 21st will be 10 years. I'm about to be 47, so I say I was 37. 30, I was 36, about to be 37.
36, 37. So those are and thank you for sharing that. And your mom's name?
Ruth.
Ruth. When Ruth passed, that is, somebody goes, well, at least you were an adult by the time your mom passed. And what would you say and because you hear different things people say to the bereaved. So if someone said, you were 36 when your mom passed, you should be okay. Right. What is your gut response to that if it was unfiltered?
Who? Unfiltered?
Unfiltered, yes.
Well, I'm not going to be mean, but
no.
People say all kind of things.
If what the real answer is, what would be unfiltered? If someone said you happen to bump into the grocery store in this May and somebody goes, oh, don't you just love the month of May? And then you go, well, my mom passed this month. And they go, well, how old were you when your mom passed? And you say 36. Like, oh, you should be fine already. If you didn't have to filter that, what would you say?
I'll be like, what the hell are you talking about? My mom, I still need my mom.
And that
it doesn't matter how old I am, I'm still her baby. I still need her advice in each level, each step that I take in my life. There's a new thing that I need to present to her and get her advice on. My mom was good at giving great advice because it was raw, because she knows me. So she didn't hold back. And even if it hurt my feelings, she still told me. And I don't know anybody else like that. So I'm missing that raw truth, that I only could get from my mother. Mm-hmm.
And how is Ruth not being here impact your being a mother?
It kind of made me indecisive because I depended on her so much. I'm unsure about my decision making when it came to my children, and I made a lot of mistakes. Because my oldest, we don't have a great relationship, which is another story because I kind of had her for my mom. My mom went through a period of sickness, and it was like a reason for her to live, and she fought hard to live because she knew I was pregnant. And so she was there the whole entire time. And I kind of handed her over to her. And my mom and her was always together. And I was a single mom. So I had 2 jobs, going to college, doing everything, paying for everything. I was supplying all of what you would call the father would do. And my mom did all of the nurturing. So when she passed away, my daughter is looking for the nurturing and I don't have it. Yeah. So in that, it's like I had to get to know her all over again.
And that's fair. I can relate to that. When our children were young, sort of the opposite of your situation. I was the nurturer, and I expected when our children got to a certain age that my husband would be the primary parent, and I would kind of take a back seat. And when he passed, I was like, I'm not equipped for that. I'm like, okay, that is not the version I was planning on, Lord. Like, what are we doing here? So, because the reality is we are all hardwired differently. And that's who we were organically created to be. It doesn't make us worse or less than. Just because I may be a female doesn't mean I'm supposed to be the super nurturing person. That may not be how I'm hardwired. You may be hardwired to take just in a different way, but people have these social norms that they package us in. And then it makes it difficult for us to show up organically who we are because the world is putting these particular labels on how we're supposed to show up.
Right.
But when you look back now and you see what you've done, and who you are. What do you think about your decisions now?
Well, I'm still going through it.
But the
Um,
reality is so this is the thing that I've learned.
mhm,
I can look back at the decisions I made 2 years ago and nitpick that to pieces.
yeah.
But that's not fair because I'm using today's knowledge to
Right.
assess yesterday's decision.
Yes.
But what I can do is take today's decisions and use all the stuff I've learned from before. And if I'm
Right.
doing that, I think we're doing the best that we can with what we have.
Right. Yes, I absolutely agree. And yes, I agree because, like, for example, even though me and my daughter, we didn't really see eye to eye, her father recently passed. His funeral was yesterday, and she called me. And for her to call me, that was a big step. She opened her heart out to me. And because of what I know now, I was able to nurture her. And I didn't even
Mm.
know I could do that. I was very apologetic, different
Aw.
things that I said. That I was careful with my words, where in the past, I was hardcore because because I was raised as the leader of my family. So I was always in charge of the siblings. I was always taking them everywhere I went. I was always watching everybody. So I didn't have time to be nurturing. And
Okay.
even my mother, she didn't really nurture me. Like there was no hugs and kisses and I love yous
Oh,
and stuff like that, versus my sisters and my brother got all of that. But I didn't get that. And so it kind of made me tough in that area. So even when she passed away, everybody waited for me to arrive so that I can take care of everything. And I didn't have time. I looked at her and covered her up because she was, to me, she was violated because it went against everything that she wanted. She didn't want to be resuscitated and her mouth was open. She was topless. So all I did was try to cover her up because I know what she wanted. But I didn't have time to take a moment and just look at her, or I didn't allow myself to feel because I had to take care of business. And
mm,
so that's kind of how I was raising my children, working in the prison system. I was really hard, on them. I was strict and I didn't have that other side, which they needed to love because now they're adults and they need it. Now it's even when I try to hug them, it's like a 3-second hug. Like, all right, get off me now. You know, we do that. And it was like, okay, you're hugging too long. All right.
time.
All right. Now
I
it's like,
mean,
okay, mom.
but there's something to be said being a Black female working in the prison system, seeing the worst that could happen and never wanting that to be your children.
Mm,
Whatever you could put in perspective in their mind to make sure that was not their situation.
right. And it made me very, very hard on them and overbearing. And yes, I learned a lot from that, but now it's starting to, because now that they're older, they can tell me.
Okay.
So,
But I hear you're allowing them that freedom to tell
yes,
you.
yes, because they couldn't say anything before.
But I know some people in their full adulthood where their parents are still not
Um,
welcoming to that conversation. So
mm,
I hear you learning from
mm,
past experiences and creating a new space now.
yes, yes, because there was also times I wanted to tell my mom my secrets, but she didn't want to hear it because it
So
was
who did you
connected to
tell?
no one.
Journal, diary?
No, because I didn't want someone to see it.
Wow. So who do you trust now like that?
God.
Okay.
I don't have a human for that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so honest. When you
Yeah.
talk about the next level in your life, are you open to share what that next level looks like and what this next venture is for you?
Yes. Where to start? So the next level is I've learned so much just to build my relationship with God. My relationship with God has gotten stronger to the point that my need to even have a person to talk to, it's not gone, but it's like I run to talk to him more now. So
Okay.
now that I do that, I hear him more. And so now it's like I depend on what he's saying to me to make my next steps. So this is why now I'm moving to Kenya Actually, we're counting down 60 days now. So May 26th, which is my mother's birthday, I'm trying to create new memories. I want May to be a happy month and not a sad month. And so I purposely decided to leave in May. So me transitioning, I'm actually, as I go through this healing process with my mother, I will be ministering to women who are abused sexually and physically. And so this is part of my next level. I'm taking all that has happened to me and all that emotion and passion that I have and put it into someone else. So as I learn how to unload and talk about it and um, get past the grief and all of that, I'm able to minister to other people about how to do that also. So as I learn, they learn it with me, if that makes sense.
It does.
Did I
And
answer your question?
it did. And if someone wanted to support your efforts, how would they connect with you or donate or provide money for your efforts in going to Kenya and the ministry work you're going to do?
Perfect. You can donate. You can send donations to Living Destiny Church. Or you can, I do have a Ghost and Gold page. I don't have it with me right now.
But you can give it to me. We can put it in the show notes.
Yes, okay. So
Okay.
I did set up a Ghost and Gold page. And if you click on it, I have because I do have I do have an LLC
Okay.
here in the States, and I'm already starting a foundation in Kenya, an NGO. So I'm building a restoration house. It's called Restoration House of Sanyu. Sanyu is my African name, which means joy. So it's Restoration House of Joy. And that's what I will be doing, among other things. But my main focus is ministering to abused women, as well as helping the elderly. So women and the elderly is like my key community.
Thank you for sharing that. And how are the women and the elderly, from your perspective, treated differently in the country you're going to than what you see here in the States?
There is a high level of respect, especially for the elderly. The elderly is like, I don't want to say that's God to them, but it's like when the elderly bless you, it's a big deal. So when I see someone who's the elderly, I immediately prostrate on the floor. Like that's what we do. We kneel down, we prostrate, you hold your head down, and you wait for them to put their hand on you, and they will bless you. And the blessings, and they really take that to heart, receiving blessings from the elderly. Yeah, because it's considered like wisdom. It's such a high respect for
Right.
them. So yes. So that part of the ministry that I do with the elderly, I actually go in. There's actually large communities of elderly in Uganda and Kenya because there was epidemic of AIDS between, it's ages 30 to 50 where there's a gap of age that's missing. And there's a lot of children. So all of the grandmoms and granddads are taking care of these young children. So it's like a whole community of elderly. And so I go in and assess their needs because they might need a roof rebuilt or houses built. And that's what I will be doing, helping to assist in that community for the elderly.
Wow. Yeah. What are some of the misnomers you think that people in the States have about Kenya that you have found to be totally wrong?
That everybody's poor. Everybody is not poor. There are some flourishing communities. I mean, yes, it's either it's not really high rich. It's also a middle class there. So there's middle class, but the poor is poor, like beyond the poor that we know. Our poor would probably be more middle class,
Okay.
if that makes sense. But if it's poor, like dirt poor.
Okay.
But if it's rich, it's rich. But in that country, the currency is better, versus our dollar. Yeah. So we will be rich based off of what we make in our income. We will be very wealthy in an African country.
Wow.
Yeah.
If Ruth were to write you a letter and what you're going through and what you're preparing to do, what are some things you think your mom would say to you?
Well, the first thing she would say is the scripture, Philippians 4:13. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That was what she would always say to me anytime I had something negative to say about what was going on. She would remind me who I am. She would remind me what I carry and that nothing is by chance and that God is in control all the time. So the first thing she would say is just remember who you are and what you walk in and what you're carrying. Basically,
Mm.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that being the first thing, what would that mean to you hearing that from her?
It's uplifting to me because she's always instilled that in me that I can do anything. And she always told me that whatever my hands touch, it would be blessed. And that's actually true. Everything I do with my hands is blessed. Yes. I just have to take the time to do it. And now I am going somewhere where I can actually use my hands like I want to. And I'm looking forward to seeing the outcome of that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You said that would be thank you for sharing that. You said that would be the first thing your mom would share. What do you
Yes.
think she would share after that with you?
I think she would tell me, don't worry about the kids, don't worry about the family, keep your focus on God. And she would probably guide me about my mom. So she'd tell me about men, stay away from the men, stay focused, make sure you dress properly, make sure you're being respectful, and honor the people that are in your presence you represent. Because my mom had a thing about representing your family. Like we represent wherever I go, I'm representing my father. I'm representing our family. So if I mess up, it's a reflection on the whole family, you know.
That sounds like a lot of pressure, though.
It is, but it kind of keeps us in line because we don't want
Okay.
somebody to, because my father knew everybody. He worked in the shipyard. He
Oh, okay.
retired. He always run into somebody. It don't matter where we at. If you're in the 757, my dad knows you, or your father, or your father's father.
Okay. Wow. And have you
Yeah.
instilled that same type of demeanor into your own children?
Not as much.
Okay.
I kind of hold back a little bit. Because it was at some point in their life that I realized that maybe I'm being a little too controlling, a little too hard on them.
Okay.
Because I know what that felt like. So I was like, let me hold back a little bit, not so much. So I kind of been a little lenient. But if my mom was alive, she wouldn't allow it.
She's cracking the whip.
Yes, all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you think of your mom and you think of the emotions that you have not dealt with, is there fear of letting your emotions go and falling apart, or any anxiety about expressing yourself that way?
Um, it's about being vulnerable.
Mm.
I think I equate vulnerability to weakness. My mind has changed about that, but I think the way I was raised, it did make it look like that being vulnerable is like being weak. And I just don't allow myself to open up that way. Like very few people I would even break down in front of, like you.
When you say, what are you talking about?
Unexpected. I think because I've been holding so long, I can't hold it anymore. So any little thing would make me burst. It's like an
Mm,
explosion, like because I've been holding, I'm full. So at any
right.
minute now, it's just like I would cry at the drop of a dime now, versus all the time I've been holding it.
How is that new emotion going for you?
Not too well, because I'm turning into a crybaby and I don't like it. I'm watching movies now and I'm crying. I'm like, what's wrong with me?
Human.
Yeah. I don't like it.
Wow. But okay, but this is counterintuitive to the people that you're going to be trying to help.
Right. So I need to be fixed.
Is it fixable?
Yes. I think, well, I know when we're around our families, well, not everybody, but sometimes we're around certain family members, we don't feel comfortable with opening up. I don't know what it is about the African people when I'm in that country, they make it easy for me to be vulnerable.
Okay.
The atmosphere is different. They're talking in low tones. Their voices are very soft. They're not aggressive or demanding. And when I'm there, they treat me like I'm special. So it relaxes me and it makes me want to talk about it. Versus here is like I feel like if I can see the judgmental eyes or somebody might say something that's going to trigger me, or I worry about those kind of things. But when I'm in that atmosphere in Africa, I don't have that problem because they're not going to insult me or judge me or, those kind of things.
Wow, you laid some bombs there because there are some things to be learned as we're supporting people who are grieving.
Mm-hmm.
Someone, you may never say anything, but those eyes shifting and somebody picking up their phone or doing something else and not focusing on you, that's really loud as far as how it's interpreted by the person that you're talking to.
Especially with somebody like me who studied body language. Like that was one of my majors, forensic psychology, and it helped me get through working in a prison. I had to be cautious all the time, so I had to know people's thoughts before they actually acted. And so to see that in people who I believe love me, and then they not giving me their full attention when I'm trying to be vulnerable, I don't do it because I don't want to waste my time. Yeah.
Wow. Do you think people realize that, like, have we become a society that we're always doing two or three things at a time? And the idea of just listening to one person, like, who does that?
Yeah. Our patience is not. We don't, but we always busy. We always got schedules. We always got somewhere to go. There's always something to do. I be talking to people and then something pop in their head. Oh, I forgot to turn the stove off, or I forgot to, just an example. I forgot to do this. And I need to do this in the middle of the conversation, and I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Wow.
Yeah, it happened very often.
What other body languages or things that you learned that, and I think this is didn't know we were going to end up here, but that is super helpful when people are with someone. And it doesn't have to be you're supporting somebody from grief. It could just be, I'm hanging out with my girlfriend and I'm making this what are some other body languages that show that people are not focused on, I guess, being present is the term that we use more now?
Well, I noticed the shift in the body when the body shifts from attentive to I notice the breathing. If you breathe too hard, and I'm trying, it don't even have to be a loud breathing. It's just your breathing changes when you're annoyed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Me sitting up and going,
eyes. No, I mean, and then your eyes. If you can't look me in my face when I'm talking to you, but some cultures they don't want you looking in your face. But I know our culture, we look in each other's face when we're talking to each other. At least that's where I was raised.
right.
But the eyes get shifty.
Not
So
making
sometimes people control their body, but their eyes they can't control. Their face expression, that lip would do it. And it'd be quick too sometimes. Sometimes people, it just be quick. I catch it.
Wow. No, that's a lot of good information.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, those are good tips. I'm going to shift back to what we were talking about, but I couldn't help but go down that road. So I'm going to pull us back a little bit. When you talk to people that are grieving, or you're supporting people when you're in Africa, what are some of those same things that you need to give to yourself to grieve?
It's really about transparency for me. Being able to talk about the hard parts, because my past is connected to rape and molestation. And so a lot of reasons why I am the way I am is because I never dealt with that trauma. So I'm dealing with women who also is trying to process that. And at the same time, they're grieving too, because they're grieving the person they were before that happened. And then you add a baby to it. And that makes the process even harder because someone will reject the baby and all that stuff, or try to kill the baby and things like that. But what I take on is really just being honest, being open and honest, not caring how somebody respond. I had to learn to be able to say my truth without worrying about what the response would be, because I used to feel rejected, or when I open up and talk about some, grief or whatever, if your response is not what I want to hear, I used to feel rejected.
Okay.
Yeah. Because sometimes your response, like you was talking about When you was 36, you should be good. Yeah, that's one of the examples, like, because I caught myself because somebody lost a mother that was like 96. And I said, oh, well, she lived a good life. And then I thought about it. That's still your mama.
Right.
It don't matter how old she is. But yeah, that's the example. You feel like, okay, she did her time, then you should be good. No, that's not true.
It's never, but that is very true. So if I hear you correctly, your the rape, the molestation is all packaged together in the grief of your mom.
Yes, because I found out I found out after my mom passed away, that my mom also experienced it.
From the
She
same
never talked
person?
about it. No, it wasn't by the same person, but she went through that and she kept it to herself. And
Okay.
it caused the sickness. It caused her to be depressed and stressed and sick because she kept all that bottled in. And so um when my father told me, I was very angry because me knowing now the spiritual aspects of things and how if we just told what happened, then we could have avoided it to happen to us because it eventually happened to us too. But we were silenced to talk. We couldn't talk about it. And when I tried to talk to my mom about it, she didn't want to hear it. Now I know why. But if she was able to talk about it, I think it would have been a big difference.
When you say the spiritual aspect of that, can you unpack that a little bit more, please?
Yeah, well, to me, it was more of a generational curse because I was able to trace it back to her mother's mother. There
Mm.
was the women were just getting raped and molested by their sisters, by their brothers, the uncles, the grandfathers. There was a lot of the men in the house, and it explained why my mom was so overbearing because we grew up in a very strict home where we were not allowed to spend the night at other people's houses. Nobody spent the night at our house. You couldn't leave the yard. We had a fenced yard. You couldn't leave. We would talk to somebody over the fence, and mama like, who is that? My mom was very protective, not knowing that the people in the church that she trusted so much were the ones who were violating us.
And that right there is a whole nother piece of this
Mm-hmm.
because people leave their children someplace that they think is trustworthy,
Mm-hmm.
and we find out it's not.
Yeah,
And how has that impacted your interaction with the church?
a lot. But that's all I do. The church was all I knew. I grew up in the church. When I left my parents' house and went off to college, I went buck wild, of course, which is normal. Yeah.
Turn up for what?
But
I
there was
mean,
conviction. There was a
I'm
lot of
saying for a
conviction.
friend. Saying for a friend.
Yes, but I tried to do everything that I was told I couldn't do just to say I tried it, which is very dangerous because I was very reckless. Because I was raped when I was 12,
Mm.
and since then I became suicidal. I was a cutter. So when I realized I'm not going to die, I just didn't care what happened to me, and I lived my life dangerously, not caring if I died or not, not
And
thinking I would even die anyway.
wow. And when you talk about cutting, some
Mhm.
people can you explain why people cut or why you were cutting?
It kind of take the focus off the eternal pain if you focus on the physical pain. And the physical pain began to become soothing. It started becoming your friend. I remember the emotions of it was after a while you don't feel the pain. It was about take me to another place.
Mm.
I went to another place mentally.
And what drew you
Yeah,
back from all those different?
God.
Let me say it differently. What was the turning point? What was that pinnacle? What happened? What took place that caused this shift from not the church,
Hmm.
but a relationship with God? Or what was the thing that took you from not wanting to be reckless anymore to,
I think I had done so much damage to myself that I got tired of it, and I truly wanted to do right. So I made a lot of decisions that I'm not proud of, and I really wanted to turn it around. So when
okay.
I had my children, that kind of changed me because there is so much responsibility. And, me being a leader, having to look out for all the siblings, I could not allow anything to happen to them. And, so it was kind of like I had a chance to make their life better than mine.
Okay.
But then I became my mother and I was overbearing, protective. Yeah. Trying to keep everybody away,
Right.
Yeah.
Do you and that is a hard thing. So how did you share with your children, or have you, about the abuse that you've experienced and the reason behind your overprotective?
I think I was too transparent with my children.
Okay.
From very early on, because I remember studying rape and molestation with children, and they were saying if you didn't say the actual body part, then you couldn't win the case. It was back there in the 90s, I believe. It was children that was in court trying to fight the case of rape, but because they had a nickname for it, it didn't pass. So at a very young age, I told my children about having sex and stuff, and my mom was against it because I was so open with them about their bodies and what nobody's supposed to touch this and that. So I prepared a long time for that. Yeah.
It makes me think of, my dad was a police officer in Chicago, and he was extremely blunt about the sex, the body parts, not naming something kitty cat that's a vagina, or not somebody's dingaling, but that's somebody's penis, and not to touch and not to do that. There was no Santa Claus. My dad made sure we knew he was bringing those Christmas gifts. Like, there was none of that, because my dad, being a police officer in Chicago, saw things that he probably never wanted his children to have to experience. But life doesn't just make you in this safe space because that's what you would want, because you have seen the most difficult parts of life. What we could do is prepare our children that if that creeps into their life, how to be prepared. So better safe than sorry to me.
Yeah, that's what I told my mom. She was like, they too young. No, they're not. And look at it now. The kids talking about everything as early as 5. And I was doing it too soon.
If you were to talk to 12-year-old you the day after this incident, what would you tell her?
Go tell somebody. See, back then, we didn't talk about it. I didn't learn about sex until that happened. We didn't talk about sex. Shoot, I didn't even know about my period until it happened on my 13th birthday, and I thought I was dying. I hid it all day.
Okay, how your period started? What happened? How did day go? What do you remember?
My 13th birthday, I woke up bloody, and I thought I cut myself.
So you just wake up in a bed full of...
Well, I went to the bathroom. I wiped myself, and there was blood there, and I just kind of like stuffed tissue down there, and I didn't tell nobody, but I thought I was dying because the cramps came, and I kept stuffing it until at the end of the day, I finally told my older sister, and then she laughed at me, and then she brought my mama in the room, and then they just laughed at me, and I'm like, I thought I was dying, and then I thought it was only going to be for that one day.
Girl, if only it was, that would be a gift if it was just for one day.
That's how, we just, that's how closed mouth everybody was about everything.
Anything.
Yeah. So I had to teach all my sisters that were under me. So it was like, I had to teach them everything.
They were not going to go into the dark with this one at all.
No, because I didn't even know about shaving my armpits until I went to college. Like, it's certain things I had to learn on my own, which is why I made the decisions I made. I didn't know. It was trial and error.
So I think and that being said, if you weren't being told that, how would you know?
I wouldn't. So my mom used the tools that she had.
Exactly.
There weren't that many tools, and I understood that. My mom only had a hoe and a rake.
And when you think about your mom and you see who you are, what do you see in those two different visions?
I don't know. Now that I know everything and all that she's been holding and keeping to herself, secrets, because I hate secrets now. Like, I really hate secrets. I see her being this innocent person who really needed help. but help was not provided for her. And it makes me sad knowing that I could have helped her if she had just talked to me about it. I would have got her somebody that she could talk to. I even went to school to be a surgeon because I wanted to find a cure for diabetes because my mom, she was a diabetic all my life, and I wanted to cure her. So I wanted her to live longer. So
Right.
yeah, I forgot the question.
No, I asked you, you answered. No, you're fine. When you thought of what made you want to have this conversation with me?
I don't know. It's just, I haven't talked about her and I struggle to remember. And
Mm,
I don't want to forget everything. And because we don't talk about it, it's like I feel like I'm gonna forget something.
okay.
Because
How is this?
I had forgot, like I had saved a voicemail into my email and I accidentally deleted. So when I thought about my mom, I used to go and play it so I could listen to her call my name. Yeah. Cause we talked like 10, 20 times all day, every day. I could be at work. I'm like, Mom, I gotta work. And she gotta tell me something. Like I missed that. So when I started missing her, I was listening to even look, I'm just rubbing my leg. My mom used to rub her leg.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Let me put my
Okay.
hands up here. Put my
You are your
hands up here.
mother's daughter.
Oh my goodness, I rubbed my leg. Um, no, but that was devastating when I couldn't because now I don't have anything to her voice anymore. So I felt like I was losing hers again. Cause yeah.
I can relate to that. When Mark passed, I had
Mm.
all these voicemail, all these texts, and all this other stuff. And one night I was looking at the pictures and I was listening to the voice, and I woke up and they were all gone. In the middle of the night, I pushed a button or did something and
Mm.
deleted our whole text thread and everything. And I was a puddle of muck at the cell phone store trying to get this resolved. And how come they couldn't fix this? And oh, just it was hot
Yes.
garbage. And that is such a gut wrenching feeling,
Mm.
not having something to be able to hear their
Right.
voice. And I reached out to my children and demanded that they send me all their videos or voice recordings of
Yeah.
their dad because I was not going to be out here without.
Right.
It is. And then I was going through some stuff and I found old videos and different stuff. I
Okay.
mean, VHS, let's be clear.
I was going to say VHS.
So I had to get them flipped over into CDs, but it's
Mm.
hard. It is
Yeah.
hard. Have
Yeah.
you, as we're having this conversation now, are there any memories or thoughts of your mom that have surfaced that you haven't visited in a while?
Yeah, my mind is actually going there.
Can
Stuff
you
I
share
didn't
some of
remember.
those with us?
Um, okay, so I had a funny thing. My mom, she had a baby, like a puppy, right? And everywhere she went, he went. And my mom, because in the country, you know, the long driveways, we had a long driveway. My mom used to get on her bicycle and ride to the mailbox, and the dog just be trucking along with her. Well, one day I just so happened to be looking out the window, and the dog ran in front of the bike, and she went flying in the air, and the dog went flying in the air. And no, it was a funny thing, and it was so funny. I think I was by myself, so I'm like, "Oh my god!" Look. But it was nobody there to share it with me. But I laughed for a long time. And I teased her when she got back. She thought nobody saw it.
I know you like,
I'm like, "Mom, you all right?" She's like, "What you talking about?"
oh, like it didn't even happen. Nice. It's
I
good
saw
to
you.
be able to laugh and think about
Yeah,
the fun times.
yeah. She loved that dog.
Wow. I am I am grateful for this conversation. You've held it together well. Uh,
Yes, I'm
but
grateful too. Thank you.
you're welcome. But I want to tell you this.
Mhm.
Crying is part of grieving. Holding it
Right.
together, like you said, that tension and that
Mhm.
other stuff is not a award. It's not you're grieving correctly because you didn't cry
Yeah.
today. Some people are just not criers. And it's not about the crying. It's about honoring the memory. It's
Right.
about honoring and loving the person. It's
Yeah.
about being true to who they are. And I think
Yeah.
this conversation, in a lot of different ways, honored your lived experience,
Mhm.
who your mother was. And
Yeah.
I love the part about the conversation of what Ruth would tell you now and what you learned about what you're doing.
Yeah. She prayed into this, and now I'm finally doing it. So I'm making her proud.
Are you
Yeah.
making you proud?
Yes, I'm making me proud too. Because it took a long time to get here.
And you deserve it. You deserve
Thank
it.
you. Yeah.
I've asked you a lot of questions. Any questions of me?
Do you think you'll ever stop grieving?
No. And let me say, grieving looks different in different days and different moments. I was with my late husband for 32 years.
Mm.
32 years. I met Mark when I was 18. 32 years? Like I don't
Yeah.
have a dress or a pair of shoes that I had for 32 years. In
Might be
30,
the style.
32 years of living my life with someone every day, doing life with them, I would, that's beyond possible that I
Yeah.
will not miss him. I have
Mm.
remarried. I still kept my late husband's last name.
Yeah.
We had 2 children together. We were in the army together. We traveled the world. I don't want to forget him. I don't want to stop grieving him. Grieving him now may look like we wore the same size shoe. So I wear a pair of his shoes and like, wow, you wore these shoes.
Mm.
Our children are okay today. I love you, Mark. Now, we're recording this the last day of March. My husband passed from this world March 11th. In March, I am mentally disassociated.
Mm.
I make a lot of mistakes. Like I'm like, okay, I need to check everything twice. The body
Mm.
keeps score. Doesn't mean that
Right.
I am an emotional wreck and devastated. But this time, 8 years ago, I wasn't
Mm.
bathing. Let's be clear. Like it was not cool. The way that grief looks now is March 11th, I will take off from work because I'm not doing that because my mind will start replaying what that day looked like. Um,
Mm.
but my grieving is fine because he was worth noticing and he is no longer in this world. Part of my grief has shown up in me supporting other people with Widowhood Real Talk with Tina and having this nonprofit. That is part of me paying forward what was the most horrific experience in my entire life. Another reason why I do this, I feel as if sometimes people in our faith in our church mix scriptures together and don't realize that it's supposed to take away my grief. The Bible
Mhm.
says we do not grieve like those who do not have a hope, but it didn't
Mhm.
say I don't grieve.
Right.
It doesn't say I don't get to lament. It doesn't, that is just so beyond that you think I
Mm.
would just dismiss their existence?
Mm.
No way. And I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
Any
I'm
other
soaking
questions?
it all in.
That's
I'm just,
okay.
I guess
I
you
can
could say
talk a
I'm
lot.
reminiscing. I'm reminiscing as you speaking.
Oh, what came to
Yeah.
mind?
I used to braid my mom's hair every week before church on Sunday. So on Fridays, on Saturdays, I usually give her some cornrows. She's very simple. And she would just want straight backs. And then I remember having a conversation with her, like, Mom, we need to change it up a little bit because, we don't want people to think you're a lesbian.
It's a basic hairstyle. But
You
isn't
can't
it
have straight backs all the time. So I stopped putting pieces in the front so it won't look like it's all straight back in a bun.
but isn't it interesting how now that would not be a thing, but back then in the time, that
Uh-huh.
cultural limited mind shift versus where we go after we learn, like you said, not even being told about your menstrual. But as we
Yeah.
learn different things, realizing how sheltered that mindset is. And
My
what
mom was
like,
very sheltered. She'd been with my dad ever since 8th grade, and she only been with him, so she didn't know
this
anything.
life.
Hence the 5 children. She didn't know what a condom was.
And all those different
Yeah.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Country bumpkin.
I have learned so much about you that I had no clue of, no clue at all. I appreciate you being so open and transparent. There
Yes,
are,
thank you.
you're welcome. I allow my guests to close out the conversation. I want to say something to our listeners, and then the final words will come from you. Whatever you want to share, there's a lot of different things. So I leave that up to you, how you want to wrap up this conversation. I want to
Okay.
say thank you for being a part of this conversation. I am sorry for the person that you have lost that has drawn you here, but I'm glad you found us. And I hope to see you next week.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to, but thank you for creating a platform for someone to be able to express their grief. It's so important. And I know when I go to sleep tonight, I'm going to remember this moment that I was able to share the things. And I know God is going to show me even more about memories that I thought I lost. And so I'm looking forward to that part. But most importantly, I feel at peace. I feel a sense of peace being able to express it. Thank you for listening.
You are so welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for spending another episode with Widowhood Real Talk. If you found the contents of today helpful, share the episode to anyone you know who may need it. Subscribe to the show and tune in to Widowhood Real Talk each week. Then, visit widowhood-realtalkwithtina.org to join the community and access additional resources. Remember, you are not alone in this journey.